The history of intimate apparel traces a fascinating journey across time, shaped by cultural values, societal norms, technological advancements, and shifting perceptions of the human body. Ancient Egypt, known for its emphasis on simplicity, comfort, and climate adaptability, developed intimate apparel that reflected its warm desert environment and social hierarchy. The Egyptians primarily used linen, a lightweight and breathable fabric derived from flax, to craft their undergarments. Archaeological findings from tomb paintings and mummified remains indicate that men commonly wore a shendit, a type of kilt or loincloth secured with a belt. The fabric was often pleated, and pharaohs or the elite class wore more elaborate versions with fine embroidery or gold thread accents, symbolizing power and divine status. For women, the most common intimate garment was a sheath dress, a form-fitting linen gown that extended from the bust to the ankles. Some representations suggest that wealthier women used straps to secure the dress over the shoulders, while lower-class women often wore simpler variations or remained bare-chested in domestic settings. In later periods, the introduction of elaborately designed bead net dresses, often worn over linen undergarments, provided a semi-transparent aesthetic that blended modesty with sensuality. Despite the minimalistic nature of Egyptian intimate apparel, it played a critical role in burial rites. Linen loincloths were included in tombs to ensure the deceased's comfort in the afterlife, underscoring the cultural belief that even intimate garments had spiritual significance. Mesopotamian civilizations, including the Sumerians, Babylonians, and Assyrians, developed intimate garments that reflected both functionality and class distinctions. Unlike Egypt, where climate heavily influenced attire, Mesopotamian intimate apparel evolved within a complex societal framework that dictated dress codes based on gender, status, and profession. For men, the kaunakis, a fleece-like wraparound skirt, was one of the earliest forms of undergarments. Initially made from sheepskin with natural fleece, the kaunakis later evolved into woven wool versions, signifying a transition from rudimentary clothing to textile sophistication. Higher-ranking individuals, such as priests and nobility, wore kaunakis with intricate decorations, while laborers and soldiers opted for simpler, shorter versions for mobility. Women's intimate apparel was closely tied to their social status. Elite women wore long woolen tunics beneath elaborate outer drapery, secured with belts or sashes. The tight-fitting breastbands found in Assyrian artwork suggest that women, particularly dancers and priestesses, used supportive undergarments for both practicality and aesthetic appeal. Additionally, certain legal codes, such as Hammurabi's laws, dictated the garments appropriate for different classes of women, reinforcing the role of intimate apparel as an indicator of propriety and hierarchy. Ancient Greece introduced more structured forms of intimate apparel, largely influenced by the Greek emphasis on the idealized human form. Unlike Egyptian and Mesopotamian societies which prioritized functionality, Greek undergarments often accentuated the body's natural contours, reflecting the period's aesthetic values. For women, the strophion, a fabric band wrapped around the chest, functioned as an early form of a bra, providing support and shaping the bust. Variations in width and fabric choice allowed women to adjust their strophion according to social occasion and activity. Over this, they wore the peplos or chiton, lightweight garments that draped gracefully, often secured at the shoulders with decorative pins. Men commonly wore a perizoma, a linen or woolen loincloth, under their tunics. Though in many instances, Greek males preferred to go without undergarments, particularly in athletic and military settings. Greek athletes often trained and competed in the nude, reinforcing the belief that the male physique represented the pinnacle of human perfection. However, when armor was worn, perizomata were used beneath for comfort. Greek intimate apparel also had symbolic implications in mythology and literature. Aphrodite, the goddess of love, was often depicted wearing an enchanted girdle that heightened her allure, underscoring the notion that undergarments held both practical and seductive power. The Romans refined many elements of Greek intimate apparel, incorporating engineering principles into their designs to enhance both comfort and functionality. As an empire that spanned diverse climates, Rome required versatile garments that could accommodate different temperatures and lifestyles. Women in Rome wore the fascia, a tight chest band similar to the Greek strophion, but with added structural support. This was particularly useful for adolescent girls and athletes who sought greater control over their bust shape. The sublegaculum, a type of linen or leather loincloth, was worn by both men and women beneath tunics. Female entertainers and gladiatrices often wore stylized sublegacula, suggesting that intimate garments could be adapted for both practicality and performance. For men, the sublegar served as the primary undergarment beneath togas or tunics. However, as Rome became more opulent, the tunica interior, a soft undertunic, gained popularity among the elite for added comfort and hygiene. The use of silk, imported from China via the Silk Road, became a luxury reserved for aristocrats, further emphasizing how undergarments signified wealth and status. The cinctus gabinus, a belt or girdle worn by men in ceremonial settings, held significant cultural meaning, particularly among priests and politicians. Meanwhile, Roman mosaics and frescoes illustrate that some women used intricately designed strophia and girdles to enhance their silhouettes, highlighting the dual function of intimate apparel as both a support garment and a tool for body shaping. In ancient China, undergarments reflected Confucian values of modesty and restraint, while incorporating innovative textile techniques that advanced the art of clothing design. Unlike Mediterranean civilizations where exposed skin was often celebrated, Chinese intimate apparel prioritized full coverage, emphasizing social decorum and propriety. Men typically wore queue, a pair of silk or linen undertrousers that served as an early version of shorts. The queue was secured at the waist with a drawstring, making it adjustable for comfort and mobility. Over time, as textile production advanced, the queue evolved into more refined versions with decorative embroidery, particularly among the ruling elite. Women's undergarments included the dudu, a silk or cotton chest cover that resembled a halter top. The dudu was tied at the back and provided modest coverage, often worn beneath flowing outer robes. Elite women, particularly during the Tang and Song dynasties, embroidered their dudus with auspicious symbols such as phoenixes and peonies, signifying beauty and prosperity. Silk, a hallmark of Chinese civilization, played a crucial role in intimate apparel, as its softness and breathability provided unmatched comfort. The use of colored silk and brocade patterns in undergarments among the imperial family reflected status, with red and gold fabric symbolizing wealth and fortune. India's intimate apparel evolved within the broader context of draped clothing traditions. The langota, a type of loincloth worn by men, was one of the oldest forms of intimate garments, commonly used by wrestlers and ascetics. The fabric was tied securely around the waist and looped between the legs, providing essential support for physical activities. Women wore stanapata, a chest band similar to the Greek strophion, often paired with the antaria, an early version of the sari drape. The kaya band, a decorative waist belt, added further support and was commonly adorned with jewels among the aristocracy. Frescoes from Ajanta and Ellora caves illustrate the use of these undergarments, highlighting their prevalence in both everyday life and religious settings. The evolution of intimate apparel across ancient civilizations reveals the dynamic interplay between function, aesthetics, and cultural values. From Egypt's minimalist linen wraps to Rome's engineered undergarments, each civilization contributed to the complex history of intimate wear, setting the foundation for modern lingerie and undergarment traditions.